What's up, and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today we're bringing it back to the world of The Boy with Brahms, The Boy 2. Kind of weird to do a title that way, but you know what? I dig. Anyways, if you saw my review for The Boy, you know that I was honestly kind of a fan. I know not everybody is, but I'm very particular when it comes down to possessed doll films. I don't typically like them. For whatever reason, I did enjoy that first Boy film. I'll get more into that in a second. What about the sequel, though? Does it carry the same kind of intrigue the first held? I'll try to be as conspicuous as possible in this review, so let's get cracking. This review is brought to you by the word of the day, conspicuous. Easily understood. Brahms, The Boy 2, focuses on a family that has moved into the property nearby the home seen in the first film. In the woods between the homes, a young boy finds the Brahms doll buried with a wardrobe of doll clothes and list of very specific rules to follow. The family agrees to let the boy keep it, but soon after, they notice a change in their son as weird things begin to happen around the house. Is it the doll who appears to be possessed, or could it be their kid pulling the strings? I'm going to be as forthcoming as I can be. In order to fully execute my ability to review this movie, I can't not spoil the first movie. However, if you're watching this review and you haven't seen the first or second movie, shame on you. There's just no way to talk about where this film goes right and where it goes wrong without first talking about what made The Boy so special in the first place. I'll try to refrain from spoiling this sequel, but the first, in my opinion, that's fair game. So that's your warning because I'm about to spoil The Boy. Okay. So the element of the first film that made it so special, so unique, and so different, and particularly the thing that made me like this possessed doll movie over the others, was the fact that it wasn't a possessed doll at all. It was a full-grown adult male living in the walls who would come out at night, rearrange things, make some noise, make it sound like the doll is alive, but in the end you find out the truth, that there was nothing paranormal about it whatsoever. To me, that made the film absolutely unique, not only because of the gimmick of the guy living in the walls, but also how it was put together from a cinematic level, because throughout the movie, it does a pretty good job convincing you that it's just another possessed doll film before it throws everything for a loop and does its little plot twist. Why is it so important to know that big twist in The Boy? Because it's mostly disregarded in Brahms. They took what made him special, flipped that on its head, and it was actually a possessed doll this time, which completely spits on the concept of the first film. Does it completely disregard the first film's events? Not necessarily. It re-explains it in a different way to push their "this doll is actually possessed" agenda to work for both films. And trust me, it doesn't. There's still glaring plot holes that aren't explained in certain spots. I don't know why they wanted to generalize this film. I don't know why they wanted to turn it into Mr. Annabelle. I especially don't know why they wanted to ignore the only thing about that first movie that made it unique, that made it different, that made it possibly original. Finding a concept that is somewhat original is hard enough. Purposefully ignoring originality when you have the blueprints for it is something else entirely. All this movie did was make it so that if you love the first, you'd hate the second. And if you love the second, you'd hate the first. There is no way on God's green earth can you love both films. And if I was a director of a horror film, and I don't care what horror film you're talking about, I would do everything in my power to honor the first movie, and certainly not disregard the only thing that differentiates itself from the rest. That's just ridiculous. Now let's take a sidestep away from the bias for a second, and I know that's hard to do, especially for the horror genre, but giving credit where credit is due is important to me. First of all, it's nice to see Katie Holmes in another film. I can't really say that she feels born to play the role she's been given or anything, as her character is mostly flat in general, so anybody could play her, but it was nice to see her, and she does her hardest with what she's been given, even if what she's been given wasn't much. Also, credit where credit is due. The narrative arc is pretty good. The obstacles aren't super strong as they aren't heading in a very specific direction, but everything else in this category got full points. But be aware that it's difficult not to get good points in this rating category. And I know I'm combining the good things that this movie does with negative, because at the end of the day, even the best things about this movie aren't the biggest positives in the world. They aren't. They're excuses to watch a movie that doesn't deserve to be watched in general. Anyways, you know what? Let's take a look at the final score. From an unbiased perspective, I think that this film was very middle of the road. It did a lot of mediocre things. That is, it remained safe from beginning to end and never really took any risks. So there weren't any rewarding elements in this process. The unbiased score is 54%, which is already failing, but because I was so disappointed in the direction of the film, my bias was a score of 44%, averaging everything out to a final grade of 49%. 49 out of 100 possible stars, meaning that Brahms, The Boy 2, is a failure of a film. I think the biggest thing about this movie really is that they took out the main ingredient of the first film that made it so special. Whenever you take out the main ingredient in a dish, your dish is no longer the same, nor is it anything special. What you end up is something bland, gray, unspecific. But hey, maybe that's just me. I'd like to hear your thoughts on Brahms in the comment section down below. Specifically, if you hated The Boy, did this one work for you? Or does it just not work for anybody? Let me know. As for YouTube, you know what you should do. Hit the subscribe button if you like this review, because there's more like it coming out. Hit the thumbs up button, because that always helps out my channel. And don't forget about the little bell icon, because that'll help notify you when I come out with my next review. Whenever that is. I don't know. Until next time, peace out!